Good morning, evening, afternoon. I'm tatocat. Welcome to my channel. Today we're playing Echoes, the Lucid9 Fangame. Previously, Rui got welcome into the highest floor of specialness, I guess, that a person can get that's not a chairman, special super secret agent. And Kosuke takes her down to this basement and she sees these people who are in comas and like coffin-y medical beds, and find out that they're like prisoners that were like not sane. And we said, well, it's like prison, and he electrocuted our brain. At that point, I decided that Kosuke is now my enemy and I shall smote him, and I will do my best to do whatever possible to end him. And that is where we left off, because he electrocuted my brain, and now he must suffer for that, because that was excessive. So I'm going to react excessively too. You electrocute my brain, I take you out. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if it is possible if it gets me a bad ending. But if it gets me a bad ending, then I will just go that route anyways and then play a new route. The point is I will be personally satisfied by it. And to be honest, I don't know if this game has a happy ending. I'm certainly the game that it is based off of didn't. So, we'll see. We'll see. I look up to see Kosuke standing over me with one hand extended. Bite his hand. Shall I? I'm going to use my regular voice because I don't have the ability to do a deep voice right now. So I'm just using my regular voice for Kosuke. Shall I take this to mean I now have your undivided attention? You did that to get my attention? I nod. As soon as my strength returns to me, I refuse his hand, good girl, and get back up on my own. Did you honestly think that you needed to trigger a PSO purge in order to get it? I prefer to not raise my voice in presence of my students. I scoff. At least I feel like Rui would be on board with my plan to smote him. How noble of you. Kosuke takes a step back. I'll confess that at one point I was willing to let these unfortunates fade into oblivion. But that was before I knew what was to become of them if I failed to take an action. Thus, I brought the criminals here to be supervised by the Special Services Division. That way, the state wouldn't discard their valuable bodies into squalid cells, and we could accommodate more law-abiding inpatients and the levels above this one. Well, how thrifty of you. There are certain things that these lost men and women can teach us. But in order for us to learn from them, a certain amount of stabilization is required. And yet, for every citizen of this... Did I say that right? Did I read that right? Yep. And yet, for every citizen, the city that sees an opportunity to learn, 10 see an opportunity to practice revenge. Oh, I get it. So, as a whole, everyone's kind of, even if people knew about this, everyone's kind of okay with it, because for maybe a couple people who'd be like, well, this is wrong, let's not do this. Most of them are actually going to be like, they did wrong, I don't care what you do to them. Make them feel miserable or something like that. And then he gets to learn from that. I've heard them argue that these people would be better off punching the walls or walls of the dark, windowless cell until their knuckles ruptured, to be beaten by fellow prisoner inmates, even lobotomized and thrown into a sterilized straitjacket to starve and defecate themselves to death. So like old insane asylums, got it? We live in a nation of hatred. Even when there is no hatred, we find ourselves needing to appease the avarice. The avaricious, in order to acquaint them with what is right and wise. I don't believe in that in hatred, Rui. I believe that we should learn from our mistakes. So crazy, insane inmates are just mistakes of humanity, I guess, in some sort of weird, completely objective, ignoring, science, in order to bring about healing. Although certain unfortunate measures must be taken in order to do so. If we seek to heal the body, testing our techniques on animals can be reasonably effective, but matters of the mind require more sapient specimens. So I will tell you no half-truths, nor will I recite any public relations dribble. These people are our test subjects. Yeah, I got that from a while back, but you do really remind me of the doctors and like the old insane asylums who were like, well, they're already insane and nobody cares about them, and we can just test on them to figure out how the brain works, is what you sound like. To learn from them, we must study and manipulate their conditions. To study and manipulate their conditions, they must be stabilized. To attain this ability and manage their pain to a point where it does not compromise our findings, we induce varying degrees of coma in order to prevent the subject's neurons from firing unnecessarily. Oh, don't you just hate when that happens? You're testing on a human being and their neurons are making them go, ow, this is painful, and they violently thrash about. Ugh, it's so inconvenient. And if we need to simulate and experience the subject's mind, in the subject's mind, we possess the means to do so. To say the least, the progress of the SSD has made down here has been astonishing. Well, good for you, I guess. In the past 10 years, we've gained an understanding of mood and personality disorders that would have taken the world centuries to develop otherwise. Living, breathing people must be sacrificed for the sake of this unprecedented knowledge. Their sacrifice has already changed the world for the better. Mother of God. He really has to smile while saying that, doesn't he? Of course, he's quite happy with himself. In his eyes, it is very much a waste not, want not sort of situation. He's like, well, they're just wasting live human beings with mental disorders. You know what? I need to study mental disorders on, you know what will work good with that? Real people. And they don't want those people. I want those people. It's just like that. So he's quite thrilled with his thought. Like, oh, yay. I am so clever. He doesn't really see it as wrong because he is actually doing something that is productive. Morally wrong, not objectively speaking, he's doing something for the greater good, I guess. So torturing a few prisoners is a-okay. If this Nuremberg looking motherfucker, I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that name, starts talking about Mesoamerican blood gods, I'm going to be officially fucking done with this fucking shit. Agreed, Rui. You seem unsure of how you wish to respond to this information, Hayata. I'm getting the impression that you're currently weighing the logistics and morals of this situation in your own mind. You're thinking about what qualifies as right in both of those respects, in those aspects. And you know that to you, what we are currently doing to these people is far from it. But I know that look in your eyes. You're trying to decide for yourself if suppressing the human life within these people is morally right enough. I don't have that answer for you. What you see as correct depends on what feels correct. I love how he sounds like he's just really trying to justify his actions to Rui right now. Like, he could have been like, these are our subjects. End of that. And could have left it at that. But he's like, no, I must really explain to you why I'm right and you are wrong. I'm the mad scientist. Listen to my speech. And then you will change your mind. Or if you don't, that doesn't matter, because at least I got my point across. Our feelings change. Not only are they caught in a feedback loop with our perception of reality, but they may lead to a new definition of right when you change that which is important to you in life. At that point, my answer will be wrong. So I'll leave you with this question instead. When someone can be so far reviled that imposing suffering on the highest order upon them is seen as morally righteous, and the conscious mind is at its core driven by the intent to eventually not need to think or feel. I mean, it was seen as morally righteous to like drown women being witches and everybody like, yay, but that didn't make it right. you know, and just going along with it also doesn't make it right. So I don't think that's helping your case. Can human life truly be seen as benevolent? Be seen as a benevolent, unquestionable good? No, absolutely not. Because it is very much based off of what you need, you know, and that might not be good for others. No, I suppose it can't. It's still not really making it okay for you to just take mentally ill prisoners and torture them. I mean, at least admit that you're doing something that's not good. It's fortunate that you're wise enough to consider the possibility, Hayata. I'd certainly prefer to sleep the day away in that situation. Less consciousness means less room to suffer, right? I mean, if you're sleeping, you'd still have nightmares and stuff. I mean, I think coma patients kind of still suffer if you watch their heart rates and stuff. Few opportunities to object to procedure as well. That's the problem. That's the main problem there, right there. You can't object to the procedure. We try things on these people that many would see as crimes against nature in their limited understandings. But given the alternatives available, those who may have once been in the position to cry injustice can no longer do so on anything but baseless principle. The main problem is that they did not choose this. You know, it's not the fact that, I mean, like, experimenting on people isn't great, but experimenting on people who didn't consent is the problem. Man observes mankind through the narrow lenses of his own morality. He inevitably sees that the world is greater than than he understands. And in his soul, he has thusly been wronged. He either freezes in fear or looks for answers that are wrong to another. Religion, ideology, philosophy. The pursuits of the material world, even, these are all attempts to understand the confusing, frightening, and unforgiving universe in which we have found ourselves. This way of thinking has only ever produced war and hatred, and it has been perpetuated to a degree where this arbitrary morality has now surpassed horror and evil as the inner enemy of all. If we wish to produce lasting consequence in this world, we must first look beyond ourselves. And when we look beyond ourselves, we find that the one primordial impetus for all our beliefs all our values and all of our rights and wrongs is the pain of existence. Yeah, life is pain and whatnot. This pain of existence forces us to believe, and these beliefs inevitably lead us to hardships. As long as the process of being limits our understanding of this world through the agony it inflicts, humanity will waste its existence in endless conflict, and this will simply perpetuate our agony. The only solitude to our pain, the only solution to our pain is to transform it into a self-limiting cycle. Something that supports cognition and survival rather than impeding both as it does today. So basically, if all we think about is what it takes to survive, and like logic, it's all cool and we won't suffer anymore. That's because we wouldn't really have emotions now, would we? Okay. However, in order to change the way it functions, we must first understand how it functions. Can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs. We may not have evolved to live on farms and in cities, but we did evolve to solve problems by studying the natural world. At this point, wow, he is really going on. This is a very long, evil genius monologue. At this point in time, we have gained the ability to study life. And the nature of life is the nature of reality itself. Study the nature of life, and you will have no doubts about what must be done if reality is to be changed. Do what must be done, and one day, humanity will no longer be enslaved by its own pain. We will have mastered it. But first, we will have deciphered the means by which it is inflicted. So then, you're telling me that experimenting on these people is some kind of necessary evil. Precise. Like I said, can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs. Precisely. And you're conducting these experiments according to the ethics and principles of this corporation, the oh so restrictive moral compass you've calibrated for way forward as its chairman. You disapprove? By a lot, yes. Yes, I do. At least give these people an option. Do you want to sit here in the jail cell with other inmates, such as what you did? Or do you want me to experiment on you while you're in a coma where you won't really realize you're in pain? I mean, you will be in pain, but you won't know that. And even if they're insane, at least the thought is what counts, I guess. It's still not great, but I mean, at least it makes it seem a little bit better, if not great. So that's when you're like, well, it's ethical enough. Yeah. Yeah, we disapprove. Of course I fucking disapprove. Do you even understand how dangerous and stupid it is to run this kind of operation in this kind of building? Is that your hang up, Rui? Not the experimenting on people like this. It's the location it's being done in. Instead of answering my question, Kosuke narrows his eyes and sends me a placid grin, almost paternal in its warmth. It's either, "Aw, you don't care about me doing wrong things," because they're not wrong, it's for the greater good. "You care about the location, I'm so proud of you." His face forms an expression of contentment, as if he's staring with pride into the eyes of the daughter he never had. In his eyes, however, all I see is the empty reflection of a man who looks at others and feels only the will to seek out a single purpose. "I see!" Exclamation mark. A grim, almost opiated stare of acceptance. Is that I or L? I think that's I. It's the acceptance of a man whose conscience is clear. Yeah, like I said, his thoughts are basically, "Oh, well, you gotta crack a few eggs and waste not one not." They weren't going to do anything with him. I'll do something useful with them. Look now, mankind is all the better for it. It's the acceptance of a man whose conscience is clear, despite everything he's taken away from these people, as well as everything he's done to them. But what worries me more than what he's done is why he's chosen to do so. It's not the product of some uncaring scheme meant to generate more revenue for his corporation, for this corporation. If it was, he would have abandoned the experiments long ago and turned his attention towards more profitable endeavors, things like drug pushing and transgenic agriculture. He's not a sadist either. Making these people suffer isn't his end goal. If it was, he probably wouldn't put them in coma. If he had, he'd be more invested in what's going on. He'd be actively breaking minds and ripping people apart with no intention to learn anything from the process. His instability would be obvious, and as a result, people would either try to stop him or try to stop working for him. Instead, it's highly likely that what he's doing comes not from a place of evil or greed, but from a place of benevolence. In his head, and in his heart of hearts, he believes without reservation that condemning these people to such fate will allow millions of others to be released from their existential suffering and live. There may even be a chance that his actions are justified. And because of this, what he says to me next is truly terrifying. Oh, what is he going to say next? Existence can be built. Existence can be quite painful, Hayata. This is something I know you understand. So believe me when I say this. No matter how strong you think you are, or how much adversity you think you've overcome, everyone has a breaking point. And so do you. Dun dun dun. Yeah, we discovered that. You electrocuted our brains. That's pretty much a strong breaking point. Brains being fried will break anyone, really. We'll see where this goes in the next episode.